Cast your mind back to America in the early 1950s. The smoke and dust of World War II had just settled, and an entire nation was desperately craving a symbol, a beacon of pure light to cling to amidst the uncertainty of the Cold War. And the Hollywood power machine answered that plea by engineering a demigod who stepped straight into tens of millions of living rooms every single week. When the series Adventures of Superman officially hit the airwaves in 1952, it wasn't just a television phenomenon, it was a cultural sweep with devastating force. At the absolute epicenter of this earthquake was George Reeves, a former amateur boxer possessing the flawless, chiseled face of a Greek god. Donning the skin-tight red and blue suit, Reeves wasn't just playing Clark Kent. To a generation of children and adults alike, he was Superman. Every week, over 30 million Americans glued their eyes to static-filled black and white televisions, completely hypnotized by the image of a man who could bend cold steel with his bare hands, outrun a speeding locomotive, and deflect deadly bullets with his bare chest. Backed by the massive corporate power of Kellogg's cereal, George Reeves's image was everywhere, from breakfast boxes and towering billboards to the most vibrant comic books. The media hailed him as the absolute embodiment of the American dream, righteous, invincible, and living a glorious life that any man on earth would covet. Seeing Reeves' radiant smile and broad shoulders on screen, the public firmly believed that walking under the blinding spotlight of Hollywood meant holding ultimate power. But the truth always demands a terrifyingly steep price, and the cost of becoming an immortal man on screen was trading away every shred of his own humanity in the dark. To truly understand the catastrophic downward trajectory of George Reeves, we have to peel off the superhero mask and look straight at the cold-blooded contracts signed in the closed-door boardrooms of the San Fernando Valley. People believed Superman had to be a millionaire, but internal studio accounting documents from those early seasons exposed a shocking reality. The entertainment industrial machine was systematically exploiting its brightest star. Despite being the soul of a multi-million-dollar franchise, Reeves was initially paid an absurdly pitiful wage, a mere $104 per episode. Studio executives forced the cast to work at a nerve-shredding pace, shooting 2 full episodes a week, draining Reeves physically through primitive, painful, and incredibly dangerous wire-flying stunts. But the most brutal torture wasn't physical. It lay in a toxic psychological weapon known as typecasting. The glowing S on his chest wasn't a badge of honor. It officially became a criminal brand, marking the execution of any serious artistic dreams he harbored. The most glaring evidence of this career destruction occurred in 1953. George Reeves, with a burning ambition to be recognized as a dramatic actor, secured a role in the cinematic masterpiece From Here to Eternity, a film that would later sweep the Oscars. Yet, during closed test screenings, the moment Reeves stepped onto the screen in military uniform, the entire theater audience erupted in laughter, shouting, "Look, it's Superman." The public's fanatical obsession with his superhero persona had completely shattered the film's serious tone. The fallout? The director in the studio coldly ordered the ruthless cutting of nearly all of Reeves's scenes, reducing him to an obscure background extra that nobody remembered. The film industry had officially slammed every door in his face. They didn't need a George Reeves with psychological depth. They only needed a cash-printing machine and a cape. The humiliation of being trapped inside a fictional character began to rot Reeves's mind. But the absolute climax of this structural crisis, the horrifying moment where illusion and reality collided, didn't happen on a movie set, but at a live public appearance. During an event at a shopping mall, Reeves, dressed in full Superman attire, was smiling and waving at the crowd. Suddenly, a young boy stepped forward. The child didn't ask for an autograph. Instead, he pulled out a real, loaded pistol, stolen from his father's drawer, and aimed it straight at George Reeves' chest. The innocent child wanted to see with his own eyes the bullet bounce off the invincible chest of the Man of Steel. Staring down the cold barrel of a fanatical child's gun, Reeves had no superpowers. He was just a flesh-and-blood man breaking into a cold sweat, facing death just one trigger pull away. With a desperate calm, Reeves had to gently talk the child into lowering the weapon, using a heartbreakingly logical lie: "Don't shoot. The bullet will bounce off me, and it might hit the innocent people around us." That lie saved his life. But this terrifying event completely demolished Reeves's final psychological defenses. It proved the freezing law of Hollywood. When the media machine molds you into a symbol beyond human limits, they don't just steal your artistic career, they strip away your safety and your basic right to be a normal human being. George Reeves realized he was living inside a glass cage, where the public could no longer separate the screen from flesh and blood, and the ghost of Superman was slowly strangling the man inside to death. The sheer despair of being locked inside the Superman cage pushed George Reeves into an underworld the stage lights never reached. Seeking solace, or perhaps a pillar of power, Reeves entered into one of the most dangerous illicit affairs in Hollywood. He became the lover of Toni Mannix. Toni wasn't an ordinary woman. She was the wife of Eddie Mannix, the notorious vice president of MGM Studios. In the inner circles of the era, Eddie Mannix was known simply as the Fixer. His job wasn't making movies. It was using his power, wealth, and deep ties to the mafia underworld to cover up scandals, accidents, and even the mysterious deaths of stars, all to protect the studio's pristine image. Reeves sleeping with the wife of the most powerful and dangerous man in the San Fernando Valley was like dancing on a minefield. But the true tragedy ignited when Reeves decided to sever this relationship to get engaged to a young actress named Lenore Lemmon. That act of betrayal triggered a chain of events leading to the night of June 16, 1959. At 1:30 a.m., inside Reeves's Benedict Canyon mansion, a deafening gunshot rang out from the upstairs bedroom. When the Los Angeles police arrived at the scene, they found the man of steel lying naked on his bed, a single bullet hole through his head, and a 9mm Luger pistol dropped right at his feet. In less than a few hours, the Lapt hastily closed the file with a neat, concise conclusion: suicide induced by depression. But if you open the forensic records of that night, the physical evidence left at the scene isn't just riddled with contradictions. It screams of an organized cover-up. First, the police found not one, but 3 shell casings that had been fired in the bedroom, lodged into the floor and wall. How could a man committing suicide by putting a gun to his head miss twice before delivering the fatal blow? Second, and the most chilling detail of all, fingerprints. Despite concluding that Reeves shot himself, forensic investigators confirmed the Luger pistol was wiped completely clean. Not a single fingerprint belonging to Reeves or anyone else was found on the grip. The weapon had been professionally wiped down. And third, the witnesses downstairs. Before the gun ever went off, his fiancée, Lenore Lemmon, calmly told the guests drinking in the living room, he's going upstairs to shoot himself. And when the blast echoed through the house, she coldly added, "See, he pulled the trigger." No one panicked. No one ran upstairs immediately. They waited 45 minutes before calling the cops. These fatal loopholes were never brought before a court of law. If the death of George Reeves was a murder, the killer did a flawless job. But the true cruelty didn't lie in the bullet. It lay in how the Hollywood machine reacted the very second his heart stopped beating. Reeves's mother, Helen Basolo, never believed her son committed suicide. She drained her entire life savings, hiring the top private investigator and attorney in America, Jerry Giesler, to reopen the case, directing suspicion straight at the invisible hands of studio boss Eddie Mannix and his wife. But she was single-handedly declaring war on an empire. Suddenly, Giesler, the infamous investigator known for never backing down, abruptly announced his withdrawal from the case without offering a single reason, refusing to take any more calls from the victim's family. An invisible, colossal, and ruthless force had suffocated the investigation in its cradle, and this is where the cold-blooded nature of the entertainment industry revealed its full face. Instead of investigating the death of America's #1 icon, the Hollywood elites only cared about one thing: protecting the commercial product. George Reeves's body was hastily carted off to be chemically embalmed before a full, independent autopsy could even take place, an undeniable act of destroying biological evidence. While the blood on the mattress at his mansion was still wet, the television network sponsors called an emergency meeting. They immediately suspended the Superman project indefinitely. They didn't want the public, especially millions of children, associating the image of their great hero with a bullet-riddled, naked corpse surrounded by illicit sex scandals. Reeves wasn't just killed on that bed, he was completely erased from the Hollywood ecosystem. The machine had squeezed every drop of his youth, his identity, and his artistic talent, and the second he became a PR liability, they disposed of his body as quickly and cleanly as throwing away a broken movie prop. Over half a century has passed since that bloody summer night in 1959. The mystery of who truly pulled the trigger of that Luger, whether it was Reeves himself in ultimate despair or a hitman hired by Hollywood's elite, remains forever buried in yellowing archive files. But there is one brutal truth that history cannot hide. George Reeves was the first, and arguably the most tragic victim of what is now called the Superman curse. In reality, there is no supernatural curse here. The only curse is the cold-blooded operation of the fame industry. That system engineered a brilliant red cape, draped it over the shoulders of a man with an artist's heart, and forced him to carry the illusion of perfection for millions of people. It teaches us a devastating lesson about the true nature of celebrity. The audience loves the symbol, but they rarely care about the human being bleeding to death inside it. George Reeves could leap over skyscrapers on screen. He could catch bullets with his bare hands for humanity in brightly lit episodes. But in the real world, ruled by greed, exploitative contracts, and the sheer apathy of the masses, no superpower could save him. In Hollywood, even the Man of Steel can be ground into dust, leaving behind nothing but a colossal shadow forever crucified on a black and white frame, forcing a smile inside a cage with no way out.